On this episode, I speak with Laura from Minnesota, who's currently living in Sanda, Hyogo prefecture.
Mark's dad was like down in the kitchen, like talking to me, making jokes, and I was like, I'm gonna like punch this guy in the face. I'm not feeling well right now, and I'm not in the mood to joke. And like that was literally like 15-20 minutes after I had told Mark like maybe I'm in labor. Like
shortly after moving to Japan, she became pregnant and walks us through that journey.
I knew that at my hospital, like it was going to be unmedicated. They said like nothing, you know, they're not offering me anything. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, so I knew like I had to be positive about my pregnancy to like know that I could have a positive birthing experience as well.
She then talks about her positive birth experience and postpartum recovery.
Like I had nowhere to put my leg. And so she let me put it on her shoulder. And like, I thought it was like 2 contractions, but Mark was like, that was literally like 45 minutes. She held your leg.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh.
Hello and welcome to Birth Stories of Japan. I'm so excited to talk with you this morning. How are you going?
Doing pretty well. Enjoying the long weekend. But yeah, how are you doing
today?
Yeah,
I'm good actually.
You're in second trimester or third trimester?
We are in second trimester. Okay. How about you guys?
14 weeks, so I think that's officially second try. Hopefully it means morning sickness is almost over.
Yeah, right. That is so exciting. I'm so happy for you guys. Were you guys planning to get pregnant, or was it a surprise this time?
So we knew we wanted kids close in age, like around two years, a little under that. But we didn't know like how long will it take us to get pregnant. With our first son, Asher, it took us like 6 months, which isn't like long in the grand scheme of life, but felt like forever. But so this time we were like, okay, well, let's just start trying when Asher was like, I think 9 months. And then we got pregnant right away and we're like, okay, they're going to be a year and a half apart. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that is so cool. That's so exciting. I'd love to know, first of all, just a little bit about you and your family. So where are you guys staying? How old's Asher?
Yeah. So we live in Sanda, Hyogo, Japan. It's like 40 minutes north of Kobe. So I don't know, people kind of call it the countryside, but like I grew up in rural America. So like to me, I'm like, it's not the country, but for Japan, I feel like it fairly is. But yeah, Asher was born, we moved here almost 2 years ago. So we are missionaries, but my husband teaches at an English after school conversation school for that.
Right. So he's also American?
Yeah, we're both American. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So we moved here about 2 years ago and then got pregnant a couple months after we moved here. And Asher was born like a year ago, like a year and a week ago or something like that. So yeah, it's just flown by. I can't believe it.
Yeah. So how was your journey to pregnancy with Asher? What did that look like?
Yeah, so like I said, it took us about half a year. So we tried to move to Japan in 2020. Like we got here February 2020, right before everything. Like, you know, there was rumor of like COVID and all that, but like there wasn't anything like out yet about that. So we were trying to like find visas and we wanted to officially move here. Like I had quit my job back home.
Wow.
Yeah. So
you were committed.
We were committed. And then essentially like our friend who is a flight attendant was like, come back to America now, or like, you're not going to be able to come back for a long time. And we're like, okay. So we went back and we had like with this English conversation school, like a work visa lined up for Mark, but just with like COVID, we just couldn't move to Japan. So we were in limbo for 2 years, like living at his parents' house and then living at my mom's house and just like the most random, like luckily my husband's job was online, so he could like keep doing that. But yeah, they kind of came to a point where Mark, my husband, was like, Laura, like, he's 37 now. He's like, I'm no young buck anymore. We gotta just like I want to have kids. Like, he wants like four kids, which I'd be open to. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And we're like, we just can't like keep pushing it off. But yeah, so we started trying, and then just nothing was happening. And then, yeah, I guess, I don't know what it was, but as soon as we moved here, we got pregnant. So I'm like, okay.
Wow. Something in the air. Maybe.
Something, yeah.
Yeah, getting here. Yeah. Maybe getting here was finally like, okay.
Yeah.
We reached that next step. And now we can have baby.
I do feel like, I do wonder how much our bodies are like connected emotionally to our mindset. Yeah, what is maybe that sense of security of like, okay, I have like insurance now again, or I like can go to the hospital.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
Like finally you're settled.
Yeah, have like a home that we're making. So yeah, like 100% totally could be that.
And then, so what was the rest of your pregnancy like?
Overall, I feel like it was just like predictable, like not like no issues. Morning sickness first trimester, which ended at 12 weeks, but it was the kind of morning sickness where it's like you wake up and throw up, like that kind, you know. And this time, being pregnant again, I still have morning sickness. I was like, once I got to 12 weeks, I was like, it's gonna be done. And then I was like, oh no. So I'm trying to like,
do you just want to say how far along you are at the moment?
Yeah, right now is 14 weeks as of yesterday. And then, so 14 weeks, so second trimester. But just in comparison, it's
still got up.
Yeah, it's funny that it's like how like similar but also different the pregnancies can be. Yes. You know, I'm sure you discovered that too.
Yeah. I've realized things that I attributed to other things. For example, I was so tired during my first trimester, and I literally just thought it was because of a health thing that I was going through, separate to the pregnancy. But now this time around, I'm like, oh, actually, I think it was more related to the pregnancy, because I just want to sleep and do absolutely nothing.
I get that.
Yeah. So it's so interesting.
It's so interesting, yeah.
And then, so how did you go about being pretty fresh to Japan, trying to find like your hospital and getting around the language? What was that like while you were pregnant?
Yeah, so I think language-wise, like I'm like that wasn't a struggle. Obviously, I had to like look up medical terms and stuff like that, but that was fine. But the whole system of like, it's just totally different, you know, than like America. And like, and I had never been pregnant before, so I don't even like, I kind of know stories of, you know, of what America's like for like prenatal appointments, but like, I don't really know. So like, honestly, when I stumbled upon your like podcast and Instagram the other month, I was like, oh, what I would have done for this like 2 years ago. Like just to like have that information of this is what it looks like. This is like, you're not alone in this, you know, especially as a foreigner in a different country. So
100%.
Yeah, I feel like my experience was just like, I just had to jump in and just like do it.
Yeah.
You know?
And a lot of us do. Like, there's nowhere really to turn to.
Yeah.
And if you do ask people, I don't know, the answers that you kind of get are very broad and general, and they kind of just tell you, oh, you need to ask there, or you need to ask that hospital. Or, so it's so cool that we get to hear other people's stories now.
For sure. Yeah, I feel like it's a huge help. But yeah, people's answers are like pretty vague, or like a lot of people are just like about the food at the hospital. Like, I feel like that's always their answer.
Every time, yeah.
Actually, the hospital that I ended up choosing, when I told the doctor, like, oh, I'll give birth here. And he was like, are you sure? Like, our food isn't good. And I was like, oh my gosh. that was his like reasoning.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
I was like,
it's like that's the only thing to compare to, eh? Like, how good is the food?
I was
okay.
Whatever, but
that's so
I mean, he was kind of right, but I was like, whatever. Okay. He wasn't wrong.
I'm glad he was honest and you had a bit of pre-warning then.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, we ended up choosing just like a government hospital in the city for a lot of different reasons. The main reason was it was the only hospital that would with COVID restrictions, like let Mark be there for birth. No hospitals were letting like visitors come in, so like I couldn't account for that. But like just being there for birth, I like knew that I was like, I need Mark there, like I need support. And like he actually studied nursing and worked on a labor and delivery floor for a little bit. So yeah,
no way.
Yeah,
oh my
so
gosh.
I was like, I need him for the emotional
huge
support.
Asset.
For I know, I need him.
Right.
So, and I wanted him to be there for the birth. But yeah.
Yeah, of course. And so what was that hospital called?
Sanda Shimin Byouin. So just like a government hospital. Yeah.
Awesome.
Which I guess they do more like NICU, like like more emergency things, because people would ask me like, oh, like you're getting a C-section, and I was like, no, I'm just having like a natural, like, no pain medication birth and unmedicated. And they're like, oh, okay. So I guess that's kind of what they're known for. But yeah, that's the one we ended up going with, which actually this next time I think I'll be changing hospitals. And part of that is because it was like overall a good experience. But there are just some things, that I would have done differently had the hospital let me,
Sure. Gotcha. And then, so before we get into those, I'd love to know, how were the checkups and how was the rest of your time being pregnant? I know that you mentioned there was a bit of loneliness. A bit of isolation.
Yeah, and like I know there's like postpartum depression, and I assume that there's like prenatal depression. I've like never heard that, but I feel like I was like pretty close to that, where like my husband would like come into the room and I'd just be like crying. He's like, "Why are you crying?" And it's like, I don't know. just so much loneliness, like being in a new country, like not having, I don't know. Like, I feel like before I had Asher, it was really hard to make friends my age. Like, I just couldn't find them. I was like, where are the other 30-year-olds? Like, I know a bunch of like 50-year-olds, but like, where are people in like my season of life, So, just feeling very lonely and being like, I just want like a friend to share this experience with. Like, if I was in America, I would like, have a handful of people, but like, or like I would know where to go to meet those people. But here it was just like, just felt very isolating, I suppose. But yeah.
I totally understand and feel exactly the same way.
It's hard.
Yeah, no, it totally is. And then, so what was your second and third trimester like? Did things settle down with morning sickness?
So morning sickness, like 12 weeks, I think, was like the last time I threw up. And I was like, thank God. Like, done with this. I'm still waiting for that day now. But I just feel like the rest of pregnancy, like I loved it. I was like, this is, I don't know. I feel like you just hear people like complain a lot in pregnancy, which is understandable. Like there are lots of, hard things that come with it. But like overall, I was like, wow, this is such like an empowering and like beautiful experience. Like I just loved that feeling. And I tried really hard. Like I knew that at my hospital, like it was going to be unmedicated. They said like nothing, they're not offering me anything. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, so I knew like I had to be positive about my pregnancy to like know that I could have a positive birthing experience as well. Like I didn't want to start viewing myself as a victim, but to view it as like, okay, like, okay, my back hurts because it's third trimester. Like I'm just going to go for a walk or like do yoga or like try to do something to help it. So just try to be positive in the experience,
That's so good. And then how were your checkups? What did you feel how did you feel about the care that you received during your pregnancy?
Just going to a Japanese hospital in general, like a government hospital at least, was just so different than like America. Like
Yeah.
even down to like I have an appointment and then finally an hour and a half later they would see me and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if that's every hospital in Japan, but I was just like I was surprised.
I've heard that.
Yeah,
I've heard from most people who go to a larger hospital, it seems to be that there seems to be a lot longer of a waiting time.
Yeah.
Whereas the smaller clinics, it's still a little bit of a wait, but
more precise.
It's a bit faster.
Yeah. And like I don't know. I really enjoyed having the ultrasounds every time. Like I'm like I have no idea what you do in America at like a prenatal appointment, because Japan is just like the main thing is the ultrasound, you know. So like, what do you even do? Like
sure.
Yeah, it was overall like my doctor. He wasn't there for the birth. Like it was just the midwives, but like he was just this. I feel like we were like the same age, but he was just like this kind of sarcastic, kind of funny. Like I just felt like I connected with him, you know.
Nice.
And the midwives were very like caring and intentional. And I will say something that I did to like language wise, like try to prepare before appointments, was like if I knew I had something I wanted to discuss with them, like I don't want an episiotomy, like I would obviously look up the word, but also just kind of like watch YouTube videos on like midwives talking about the issue, or read blog posts on it, just to have an understanding of like what verbs do I use with this like noun, like how do I phrase like in a polite way, like okay, I don't want this, so please don't, you know. So I would definitely suggest that, like depending on people's language levels, like try to be like a little prepared if you know there's something that you want to ask, or if you know it's like the day that you're going over your birth plan, like try to be able to think about like why, like the requests that I'm asking, like why do I feel passionately about this. So
that's such a good tip. And can I ask what when did you learn Japanese, like, and what your level is what was your level when you first got here?
Yeah, so I studied abroad in high school, but I didn't really like learn anything. It was like 6 years. And then, you know, it's just like you're just hanging out. Then I studied Japanese.
But that's all a part of it.
Yeah, for sure, the experience. Then I studied in college, just at my university in America. And then I studied abroad for 2 months in the Kansai area in college. At that time, I took and passed the N3.
Nice.
And then I graduated college and totally didn't use Japanese and went like a different direction in life, you know?
Yeah.
And then,
sure.
Once when I said that we tried to move here and I'd quit my job and then we had to come back for COVID, like because I was in limbo at that point, like before I got like a job during that time, I just studied, like self-studied, like really, really, really hard. Like I was just like I'm going to make the most of my time, you know, like, so by that time, before coming here, I was past the N2. And then this past December, like 3 months ago, I passed the N1. So yeah, I guess the 2 years, like N2 up to N1, but yeah. So I feel like that's obviously a blessing and helpful when it comes to like giving birth in Japan. But I feel like there's so many resources. Like my hospital totally would have allowed like a translator to come, you know.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay, I think we're ready now to get into your birth story. Yes. Let's go.
Yeah, so he was due February 11th, and then my contractions started February 15th. So like 4 days after the due date. Mark's, oh my gosh, I was so blessed. Mark's parents came over to help us for 2 months after we had him. So they literally came.
Incredible.
Like, yeah. Which I know like not everybody has a good relationship with their like in-laws, or, you know, can have people come over. Yeah. But if you can, like, obviously it's so helpful to have that support. But they came Valentine's Day the 14th. And then the 15th, yeah, literally like that night. And then the next day,
Perfect.
I know, the next day I was like showing them around and we were getting SIM cards and everything. And then I went in, like, I feel like my contractions probably started a little earlier than like probably around like 4, but like, I don't know, like I had
Mm.
Braxton Hicks, you know, the days leading up to it. Like,
Mm.
you know,
Sure.
there was one night I had, I don't know if it's what the difference between Braxton Hicks and prodromal labor is, but like just consistent
Mm.
contractions, but like then they stopped, you know? So I was just kind of like not thinking about it, you know, it's not like they were hard or anything. Um, so that was at like 4, I guess you could say that those were starting, which was like literally we had like no clothes for the baby for Asher. Like we like I couldn't find any like newborn clothes at the thrift stores or anything. So
Mm.
like we just had
Mm.
like a couple 3-month clothes, like, and we didn't know his gender because we wanted it to be a surprise.
Nice.
But so literally at 4, when that was kind of starting, his mom was like, Mark's mom was unpacking her bag and she had all these clothes from America and all this baby stuff. And I
Oh.
don't know, I think sometimes I think it's maybe I was like, okay, like we have stuff for the baby, like he can come now. Like, you
Oh
know,
my god, that's that was similar story to
really,
me
are
as
you
well.
serious?
Yeah, yeah.
Really?
Like my mum came, she had all these clothes,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, cool, finally we've got some clothes.
Mm.
And then literally the day before, we got like the bed for the baby.
Oh,
And
really?
I was like,
The day
yeah. And
before.
then the day before, and then I started having contractions at like 4 or 5 in the morning,
That's
like that morning.
crazy.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
maybe it's a body.
I
The body
really,
just knows,
yeah,
eh?
I really think it's like maybe some kind of nesting, like in our minds as like
Sure,
mothers. We're like,
yeah.
okay, like I can physically
Yeah,
provide for my baby.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I finally got my stuff together.
Yeah,
Here
like
we go.
finally. Yeah. Look at us, last minute
Wow.
prepares.
Yeah,
Love it.
honestly, yeah. But luckily it happened that way and not,
Yeah. Yeah, the other way
later
around.
on kind of
For
thing. Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah. That's
Oh,
hilarious.
awesome. And then, so do you want to keep
Yeah,
going?
for sure. So but yeah, so at that time it's like comparable to Braxton Hicks. Like I didn't even like think like, oh,
Mm,
I'm in labor, you know.
got ya.
And then so we live at the school that my husband teaches at. So like the school's on the first
Mm.
floor. This is like the second floor, and then we have the third floor.
Oh,
But
wow.
he had just
That's convenient.
I know, like short commute. So he had just ended his class at 5:45, and I went downstairs to
Mm.
him and I was like, hey, like I don't know if like I'm going into labor or what, but like he was reading The Bradley Way. I don't know if you've ever read
Mm.
that.
No, I
Okay,
haven't.
yeah, The Bradley Way method. It's um yeah, I don't know, maybe it's just like an American thing. I thought it was like also like a British thing too, but I think
Mm.
you're from New Zealand.
Possibly. Yeah,
But
yeah, probably. We're too far. We don't
too
get
far.
that
Too
information.
far. Yes, that's
Too
but
far, too little.
anyway, I definitely highly recommend it. So he
Mm.
hadn't finished the like pushing stage chapter, so I was like, you should like maybe you should finish that chapter. And he was like, okay, let's not like we don't know that this is it, but okay, I'll go finish it.
Mm.
So then he like went
Yeah,
he went to finish
nice.
it, and I threw dinner together for the family. And like literally I was like putting the pizzas together, and like Mark's dad was like down in the kitchen like talking to me, making jokes, and I was like, I'm gonna like
Yeah.
punch this guy in the face. I'm not feeling well right now and I'm not in the mood to joke. And like that was literally like 15-20 minutes
Wow.
after I had told Mark like maybe I'm in labor. Like, oh my
I
gosh.
just love the mood switch. Like,
Yeah.
lovely housewife, like making the pizza, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, wanna fight.
Wanna fight. Well, I feel like that's the crazy thing is like contractions obviously get more and more intense and like closer together and everything and longer. Like,
Yeah.
and I feel like my labor just went from like 0 to it felt like 100. It was probably not 100, but
Yeah.
it felt like it.
Yeah. And it sounds like it, how
Yeah.
you're describing it.
Yeah. So
Mm.
yeah. So I just at that I threw the pizzas into the oven and I went upstairs and I literally like I had one friend who was due like 2 weeks, had her baby 2 weeks before I did in living in
Oh,
Tokyo.
wow.
And so I texted her. She was the only one I texted. I was just like, I'm in labor. Like, and that was like 6:10. I like looked back on the text. I was like, oh, it's 6:10. Okay. Trying to do the math here.
Wow.
And
awesome.
so
Yeah.
at that point I was like, okay. Well, okay. Talk about like last minute preparers, as we were talking about. I had not packed my hospital bag. Well, it was half packed. That's an amateur mistake. Don't do that. But I like definitely thought like, because people are like, oh, I was in labor for 24 hours, but it was like, at first the contractions, like you have 10 minutes in between. So I thought I would like have a contraction and then I could finish packing my bag, because a lot of my clothes I wanted were like I wore at the time. But like that was not the case. I was like trying to pack it and I was like, I can't do this. Like I was like, I need to just like relax. Like it just hit me that like I was like, okay, I'm clearly not gonna have those like 10-minute in between contractions. Like I need to just go relax. So I was like, I'm gonna go take a bath, like try to get into the zone. Like I guess this is where they say to relax and pretend like you're like riding on the ocean, and whatever analogy you want to use. But so then I went in like to go take a bath, and Mark came to check on me, and I was trying to be like, I don't know. I just thought like, okay, I have 24 hours of this. I was like trying not to be like a baby about it. I was like, just go eat your dinner. Like you need the energy. Go be with your family. And then as soon as he left, I was like, oh my God, I wish he was here. I was like, I'm such a baby. These hurt.
Oh no.
So I feel like the first like half hour I was like trying to wrap my head around it. I was like, okay, I'm in labor, like this is what it looks like, this is what it feels like how can I handle this?
But then it progressed so fast, hey? And then it totally like, did. Oh, okay.
Because he like I guess he ate like a piece of pizza and came back, and then we were trying to measure the contractions, which we like practiced, but like real life is like feels totally different. And we're like, we don't know what we're doing, which is funny because he was a nurse, but like, we were just like,
under pressure,
under pressure. But actually, the crazy thing is his mom was a labor and delivery nurse for like 12 years. So she, like, I went to the bed and she came and she measured my contractions and she's like, these are like 3 to 4 minutes apart, like a minute long. She's like, I would go to the hospital if I were you. Like they, like clearly they're like at the, like people say 311, but they're like intense clearly. Like, and I was just like, ugh. Because I just wanted to like labor at home. Like literally my husband, like Mark had set up the bedroom to how I wanted it. Like he had lit the candles and he had like the lavender going, and we had like a little fireplace, like electric fireplace. Like he had the whole mood set. He had like I don't know, just all the things. And I was like, oh my gosh, like how I thought labor was gonna go, and I have to like go to the hospital now, like which I wanted to like avoid until the last second. I was like just not feeling it. But I was like, okay, like I guess we're gonna do this. So, and I knew that I had, like, my husband doesn't speak Japanese that well. He's gotten much better now. But, so I knew I had to be the one to call the hospital and, like, I don't know, trying to, like, give your birth date in Japanese. But I'm like, why is this so hard while you're in the middle of a contraction? Like, oh, God. I'm the foreigner. Like, you don't have any foreigners.
That, hey, I always feel like, look at the name that's in katakana. That is me.
That is me. That one is me. Exactly.
Oh, gosh.
But
and then so after that, did you end up going to the hospital? And if you did, do you want to take us through that?
Yeah, for sure. So I did. They were like, okay, try to come within the hour. Like, so a couple contractions, like made it down the stairs to the car. And, Mark's mom was just so sweet. She just like kissed me on the cheek and she said like, hey, just trust the like midwives and the doctor. Like they want what's best for you. They want what's best for your baby. Like, she's like, I know a lot of people can kind of butt heads with their, medical providers, but just speaking as like a nurse, like I know they want good things for you. And I was like, okay. That was like encouraging for me.
So true.
Yeah, I think I needed to hear that.
Yeah, that's so lovely to hear.
Yeah, especially I didn't mention this yet, but like I really like for a long time struggled with like I didn't want to give birth at the hospital because like when I like presented my birth plan originally, they were very like strict and were like, no, like no, like no skin to skin, like no delayed cord clamping, like you have to give birth on your back, like all these different things. So I was like, you know, eventually I just accepted it and was like, okay, this is what it is because I want Mark there for birth. But like, yeah, like hearing her say that, I was like, okay, like I need to just like, all I can do is like trust them, you know?
Yeah, what will be kind of.
Yeah, exactly. So we drove to the hospital, which was like 5 minutes away. And then as we were walking through the parking lot, like into the hospital, it doesn't, like, I don't know about where you are, but it doesn't really snow much here in Sanda. But I, like where I grew up in Minnesota, in America, it's like near Canada, cold, snows from like October to April usually. Like I just, winter is my favorite season. Like my absolute favorite thing is when it snows like at night. Like I just feel like a sense of like peace, like almost like you're in a snow globe, and it feels like everything's like okay in the world, like my problems aren't that big, like life is okay.
Oh, that's so sweet. I love that.
So like in the parking lot I had a contraction and it was just like flurrying and all these little snowflakes were like landing on my sweater and I was just like looking at their patterns and I was like, oh, this is so beautiful. Like
just, that is amazing.
I just felt like a lot of
cool
assurance. Yeah, I just felt like, okay, like I was made to like give birth, like I can do this. Like I also forgot to mention this, but like I've been scared of like birth and well becoming a mom in general, but like especially birth like my whole life. So I was just really like nervous about it, but I was like, okay, like I know that I can do this, that I'm here in this moment for a reason. So yeah, we got to the hospital. We got into like a really good rhythm. We got in the hospital at like 8:30 at that point. That's when, at least when Mark had texted like my parents back home. And we just got into this really great rhythm of like I would walk down the hallway and like, you know, stop for contractions. And then they had those like, I don't know, like chair, stirrup, stool things, you know, to like labor over. So we would do that for a few contractions. And then I would eat a cracker and drink water and then go to the bathroom. Like we just had this really like nice. I like working out and I like having like having the idea of like, okay, I can like keep working on this. Like I do another round and another round. Gotcha. So it felt like I was progressing, you know?
Nice.
So that went really well for like, it must have been almost 2 hours because my water broke at like 10:20 or something like that. But my water broke when they were like, oh, we had to charge the monitor. So like, can you just lay on your side for a little bit while we like charge it? And I was like, sure. And like, it literally like broke the next contraction. And it was just like, I don't know. Like, I did not know that there was that much water in there, you know? I was like, where is this coming from? Like, what is this? But I feel like, yeah, it was in that moment that like, I felt like my labor kind of changed. Like when I checked into the hospital, they said I was 3 centimeters. And then when my water broke, they said I was 5 centimeters. But like my contractions were like, literally I could feel like my uterus pushing down and the baby kicking off the uterus. And I was like, this is like what people say, like, you know, the pushing stage, it feels like. So I'm like, well, how far along am I? Should I push? And they were like, you're only 5 centimeters, which like, I guess can be like Mark's mom was saying, can be kind of arbitrary. Is that the word? Like it just depends on their fingers, like sizes. Yeah. But sure. Yeah. So they were just like, don't push. And I was like, I'm literally like, my body's just doing stuff. Like I'm not doing anything. Yeah. So like literally I would say like, I feel like I have to poop. And then they would come over and they would like push my butt the whole contraction. That was literally like what happened for the next what was it, hour and a half or something. But yeah, that was like, I would say that was the hardest point. Like I feel like it was so hard because I was being told I couldn't work with my body. And I was being told I couldn't do what I felt like my body was doing and to stop it. And I was like, but I can't. I literally can't stop this. So Like I sometimes wonder like how I could have handled that situation differently. Like, you know, should I have tried a different position? Like, you know, but when you're in the midst of it, you just like, sometimes it's so hard to think about like what to do. You're just like in it, you know? But yeah.
Especially for your first time as well.
Yeah,
it's like,
for sure.
Tell me what to do.
Yeah, I know. I'm like,
help me.
Yeah, like, is there something I can do to like, you know, move this along? Like, I don't understand what's going on. But yeah. So essentially, it was like them pushing on my butt for the next hour and a half, and then which is very kind of them. And then once it was like 12:30 or so, they're like, okay, you can probably like, you should start pushing now. Like, they didn't check, but they're like, we assume you're fully dilated, so start pushing. Which at that time, like when I was having really pushy contractions after my water broke, they moved me from like the labor room, which was just like, you know, you can move and do whatever you want, to like the actual delivery, like pink table thing, and like kind of like a chair, you know what I'm talking about. But like I just like, Mark said he could see me like freeze up as soon as I got into that chair, because I was just like so nervous about giving birth on my back. Like I knew that I wanted freedom of movement. So yeah, when they were like, okay, like around 12:30, they're like, you should start pushing, like we should like get this going. And I was like literally my contractions felt like they went from like 100 to like maybe like 30%. Like they just, you know, stopped, which I feel like, isn't that part of like transition?
It's your body again.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Like I've heard like, you know, you have the transition, which is like the hardest, you know, your contractions are on top of each other, and then sometimes your body gives you a break before like the more like pushy contractions happens. But they were just saying like, oh, you should push. So I was like, okay, I guess this is what I'm supposed to do. But once again, I wish I like knew to listen to my body, you know, to listen to like, okay, this is a time to rest. But so yeah, just moved into the pushing stage, I guess, for the next 2 hours or so. Which there were a lot of things on my birth plan, like I said, that they were like, no, but the midwife that day was just like, she clearly had read over my birth plan before I came in, because she was like, do you want to try like pushing on your side? And I was like, oh, that's so nice of you. Okay, sure. Like, so I did that, but like I had nowhere to put my leg, and so she let me put it on her shoulder, and like literally I thought it was like 2 contractions, but Mark was like, that was literally like 45 minutes she held your leg. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, what a kind lady. I just felt like afterwards, when I reflected on it, I was like, wow, I just feel like so cared for, like that she was intentional in that. But yeah, the side laying, like I think definitely helped progress him down. And then I flipped to my other side, facing left, so my right side. And that's when they started seeing his head. And man, as soon as they like could see his head, Mark was like all tears. Like he was trying to hold it together, but he was like, okay, you can do this. I can see it.
Oh, sweet.
But my favorite thing were like all the different comments that there were 2 midwives that they were like making. Like they were like, oh, come on out, like you have friends that want to play with you, or like, or they were like, oh, we knew his hair would be blonde, but we didn't know it would be this blonde. Like making all these comments that I was just like, I don't know, I kind of appreciated it. I was like,
oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, they're just really supportive. And eventually though, when I was like, they started seeing his head, and they're like, okay, we're gonna give you like Pitocin or whatever, like if he doesn't come out like soon. And so I was like, I don't want that. So I just like, they told me to flip on my back, and then I just went into like, essentially we pushed him out from there. But it took a good, man, what was it, like half an hour or so? I don't know. But from that, the start of seeing his head, like I think it was like 147 to 220. But yeah, it was, I don't know. I feel like this is also the other part of like my pregnancy story that I struggle with, because I wanted, you hear so many different stories of how the actual pushing stage goes for people. And some people are like, the contractions were harder, it just depends on the person. But I feel like I really wanted, like, I felt so empowered, and like during contractions, the labor part, that I was like, okay, like I feel like I can do this. And then in that, like those 40 minutes or so of like pushing, I just felt like, wow, like I feel like this is not efficient. Like I feel like there's so, like, I wish I could move, I wish I could, like, but I couldn't fully like wrap my head around what I needed to do, because just, you're in the moment and people are telling you what to do. So yeah, I think it took me a while, especially the first week after giving birth, to feel like, to be like, okay, that was a good birthing experience, like it was a sweet experience, and was honestly one of our favorite experience of our lives together. But like, it took me such a long time to process it, and to be honest with myself about what was hard and what I didn't like, and like what was a challenge, and then what I would like change, and grow from there. So
yeah, that's so interesting. And so how was the final part? So you said it took a little while from the head showing for him to actually come all the way out. Do you want to just finish?
Yeah, so yeah, it took a little bit for the head to come out. Obviously, crowning was not fun. And it was like 20, I think it was like 20 minutes of crowning, or 17. Yeah, 17. And I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, every time I like would push, I was like, okay, he should be coming out now. Oh, he's not? Okay. All right. We're just gonna sit here, I guess. Like I said, I didn't know he's the guy. But yeah, yeah, and then once I did get his head out, I guess I didn't realize, like I knew like you should take a contraction or two for the shoulders, so that you don't tear. And like, yeah, once his head got out, I thought I would like feel relief, but then the shoulders are also like not the most comfortable. And so I just pushed him out. I don't think I was even having a contraction. I think I was just like, get him out of here, which I honestly regret. Don't do that, because then I tore. And up until then, it had been good. But yeah, I just like didn't know that was a thing. Yeah, and then after he's born, oh man, I was like shaking so much. I was like, I think, that's hormonal, like your hormones are changing in that moment. But like, they let us do skin to skin, which they like had me sign a waiver.
Awesome.
They like delayed the cord clamping, which really surprised me. And she even like pointed it out and was like, see, we delayed it. And I was like, oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, awesome.
And then when they like, after we had the contact and everything, they took him to do his checkup, like just next to me while they did the placenta. And like, I don't know, I was just like so baffled. I was like, how did I do that? Like, how did I give birth?
Yeah.
That like, how did that baby's been inside of me this whole time? Like, how did I give birth? Like, can I be yeah, like I literally asked them, like, can I be a mom? Like, I don't know. And they were like, you already are.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just really sweet. And originally they said Mark could only be there for an hour after birth, but she was going to let him stay longer. He stayed for like 2 hours. She was going to let him stay longer, but he was like, it was like 5 a.m. or something like that. And he was like, I'm done. I'm so tired. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just, awesome. Yeah, it was just like a really sweet moment. And like I said, like honestly, one of our favorite moments. Obviously, like with such an impactful thing as birth, like thinking about it, processing it, like talking with people about it, I think is so important. And yeah, I'm equally nervous and excited for the next birth. Honestly,
I'm sure you are. Yeah, that makes total sense. And so, what was your postpartum recovery like?
I had to stay at the hospital for a week. I tried to leave earlier, and they were like, I asked them, and they're like, no. But because I've heard like some people, they're like, oh, they let me leave earlier, but I don't know. Maybe it depends on the hospital. Yeah, they were just so like kind and generous and helpful. Like, obviously at the same time it was hard that like Mark couldn't come, or his parents couldn't come visit, but specifically Mark, like Asher was born, and then the next day was Mark's birthday, like their back-to-back birthdays. And I know, and Mark was just so sad that he couldn't see Asher, on his birthday. And I heard Mark came to like drop something off for me, and I heard the nurse while she was holding Asher like, should I let him see him? Like she was like debating in her head. I know.
Oh gosh.
But I guess I know Mark said that he saw her ask the doctor, and the doctor said no. So yeah. But so we're hopeful for this time that he can come visit. But yeah, it was. In some ways, like it was hard not to be with him during that first week of Asher's birth, but it was also nice. It was nice, like in a way, to be at the hospital, like, having them help me with Asher, or teach me how to nurse, or like just having that space to like process or take time. Like they would take him in the mornings while I ate breakfast to like do testing. So I had like an hour to myself, and it was just nice to like just journal and just like think, or like call a friend.
Awesome.
So like thankful for the time, but also obviously wish I was like with family too. But and then like I said, Mark's parents were there for like 2 months almost. So that was just so helpful. Like it just gave me so much space to just like nurse Asher, be with Mark, not have to worry about laundry or like food or anything like that. And then it was just fun. Like it was just fun to like hang out when we did have, while Asher was napping. After they left, it was definitely like an adjustment of like, okay, like it's just us, and we're trying to figure out like what does our family look like, just us three. But yeah, I guess I don't know, like I was really nervous for the newborn stage. Like I didn't think I would like it, but I honestly loved it so much. And like
That's
like,
awesome.
so much. But
it's bottle time. First question. How did you overcome the loneliness and isolation here in Japan?
Yeah. I feel like it's gotten so much better since having Asher, since I have been able to make like mom friends, I feel like now I'm able to go to like the playgroup times and stuff. But now I also know about like, oh, we have these maternity like play groups or whatever. So I'm like, that would have been nice, but like prenatal. But yeah, I think trying to stay positive, trying to like keep working on the relationships that I did have, trying to like join activities, or trying to get involved in the community. I'm trying to think what I did. I also like would take time to talk with a friend back home, once a week, or just Marco Polo or text or whatever, and just be like honest about like where I'm at. I think it's good to have somebody that you like process with and talk things through with. And then I feel like just over time, like Japan has slowly become more like home. And
awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely helped, like I said, to go to the play groups for sure.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Is there anything that you'll be taking from your first experience into your second?
Yeah, I think definitely I've been just trying to think about how I want to go about like the pushing stage better. I think my goal would be to labor down this time, and then to just push when I would feel like ready for that. But like honestly, I wouldn't like I knew that stuff. Like I had heard of that, before I gave birth to Asher, but like when you like you just don't know until you experience it. So I think I'll be more aware, like much more aware of that next time. And like I said, I'm going to try to go to a different hospital. I'm kind of in the process of switching right now. So it's actually more in the countryside. It's like 25 minutes north. But the doctor, I was like reading through his blog, and he's very like naturally mindset. Like he can do like emergency C-sections and stuff like that, but he is very like, I want the woman to feel like she can like give birth how she needs to, like whatever position. Like he used to do water births, but he changed to, I don't know if you've ever heard of this. He changed to water beds. So it's actually you give birth on a water bed. I know. What? I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. But
oh my god, this is so interesting. No.
I know.
What?
I've never heard that. So I know that it's heated. He said, like, it said that people really liked it because it's heated. So it's like kind of like provides, like in water births, you know, the natural, what would it be? Like helping you relax naturally. But it's not as hard for him as a water birth to like get the baby, you know? So it's supposed to be like a compromise kind of thing. I'm hoping that the water bed's a little like, I feel like I'm imagining my childhood, like the water beds that are like this. So I'm hoping I'm hoping
that's
it's a
what
little
I'm
more
picturing
like
too.
tame.
Firm, a bit more firm than that.
Yeah, so I will let you know. But I was like, when I read that, I was like, surely I'm reading this wrong. But
well, if you do end up going with this new hospital and choosing the waterbed birth experience, I am so keen to hear more. That would be so interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today.
Yeah.
Just sending my love and all the best for baby number 2. I hope it all goes well.
Yes, thank you so much.
No problem. Bye.
Bye.
A huge thank you again to our guests for being brave and sharing their story, and also to you, our listeners. I really hope that you are able to take something from today's episode. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe and leave a rating and review. To stay up to date with Birth Stories of Japan and get all the behind the scenes content, you can follow us on Instagram at birthstoriesjp. And if you can share this podcast on to others as well, that would be a huge help. Lastly, if you're a mama in Japan and would love to share your story, please send an email to birthstoriesjp@gmail.com. Thanks again, and I'll see you on the next one.